Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mr. Storyteller. Before you dive into tonight's nightmare, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now, get comfortable and relax.
It began with a whisper. I'd just moved into my new apartment in Portland, an old brick building from the 1920s that oozed charm. Arched doorways, creaky hardwood floors, and even a wrought iron elevator that groaned with every trip. I was 26, newly single, and eager to start over after a particularly messy breakup. The apartment was small, just a studio, but it was mine. The whisper came the first night. It was soft, so soft that I thought it was the wind slipping through the windows. I had left them cracked to let the autumn chill air out the mustiness. Lying in bed, half asleep, I heard it. My name, said like a question. Emmy? My body tensed. I opened my eyes and scanned the room. Nothing. Just the faint golden light from a street lamp bleeding through the sheer curtains. I held my breath, waiting to hear it again. Silence. I told myself it was my imagination, maybe even a remnant of a dream. But in the morning, I found something that made me hesitate. My front door was unlocked. I always locked it. I remembered turning the deadbolt before bed. Still, maybe I was distracted. New place, first night. I chalked it up to nerves. The next night, the whisper came again. Closer, more confident. Emmy, wake up. I sat bolt upright. It felt like the voice had come from right next to the bed. My eyes darted around. There was no one. Just the antique mirror hanging above the dresser, reflecting the dim, sleepy room. Something was wrong with the reflection. In the mirror, the bed was empty. I stared. In real life, I was sitting upright, heart pounding. In the mirror, the bed was undisturbed, the sheets perfectly smooth. The hair on my arms lifted. I reached toward the mirror with a shaking hand, and as I did, the reflection flickered, then returned to normal. Me, pale and wide-eyed, sitting in bed. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I asked the landlord if anyone had ever died in the apartment. He laughed, then saw my expression and sobered. Not in your unit, he said, but weird stuff's happened here. That mirror was left behind by the tenant before you. She disappeared. Disappeared? I repeated. He looked uncomfortable. Just packed up and left in the middle of the night. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't break the lease. Left everything. Furniture, clothes, even food in the fridge. I asked him to remove the mirror. He agreed, but by the time I got home from work, it was still there. That night, I covered it with a sheet. I woke up to the sound of it crashing to the ground. The sheet lay in a heap on the floor. The mirror, unbroken, leaned against the dresser. My heart pounded as I stepped closer. I caught a glimpse of the reflection and froze. In the mirror, the sheet still hung, obscuring the glass. I blinked and looked behind me. The sheet was definitely on the floor. I looked back. Now the reflection showed my room as it was, but something moved in the mirror. A figure stepped into view behind me. I turned, but there was no one. In the mirror, the figure stood still, tall, featureless, draped in darkness like wet fabric, its face a void of shifting shadows. It raised an arm and pointed directly at me. I threw a blanket over the mirror and ran to the kitchen, grabbing my keys. I didn't care what time it was. I needed out. But when I opened the door, the hallway wasn't there. Instead, it was my apartment. The same room. A perfect replica. I stepped back, panicked. Was I going crazy? I slammed the door shut. Opened it again. Still the apartment. I backed away, breathing hard, eyes darting. My phone was dead. No signal. The windows now looked out into pitch blackness. Not night, just void. That's when the lights began to flicker. A low, vibrating hum filled the room like a distant scream behind a wall. The air grew thick, heavy, like I was underwater. From behind the mirror, I heard it again. Emmy, you're almost ready. I turned slowly. The blanket over the mirror rippled like something was moving behind it. Then a hand, long, bone-white and clawed, slid out from beneath the sheet. I screamed and stumbled back, knocking over the lamp. The room plunged into darkness. When I got up, the mirror was gone. So was the wall it had been hanging on. In its place was a hallway, narrow, endless, with walls of cracked concrete and flickering lights. A hallway that did not belong in my apartment. I should have run. But something compelled me forward. Not just fear, something else. Curiosity. Or maybe it was that voice, always just ahead, whispering, "Come see." I stepped into the hallway. The moment I crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped. My breath fogged in front of me. The walls dripped with something black and oily. As I walked, the floor grew uneven, like I was stepping on buried shapes. I didn't look down. The lights dimmed further until I could barely see. But ahead there was a red glow, pulsing like a heartbeat. I reached it after what felt like an hour. A door stood in the middle of the hallway. Carved into it were symbols, circles with lines through them, spirals, eyes. My hand moved on its own, reaching for the handle. The door opened inward. The room inside was vast, too vast to fit within my building. It stretched into darkness, with walls that shifted and breathed like lungs. In the center was a chair, and in the chair, me, or something that looked like me. Its skin was gray, its eyes completely black. It smiled as I approached, and I felt something pull at me, like a hook in my chest. "You're finally here," it said, and its voice was layered, mine, and something older, deeper beneath. I couldn't move. I felt myself unraveling, like my body was being remembered wrong, like something was rewriting me from the inside. "You're the last," it said, "the 13th vessel." I managed to whisper. "What are you?" It stood, towering over me now. Its face flickered, first mine, then my mother's, then faces I didn't recognize. It smiled. "I am the echo, the remainder, the dream after the body forgets." It stepped forward, and its shadow swallowed me. The pain was unbearable. My memories burned away, first childhood, then names, then language. I forgot who I was. I forgot I was. And then nothing. Then I woke up. I was lying in bed. Sunlight poured through the windows. The mirror was gone. The apartment looked normal. Had it been a dream? But when I looked in the mirror in the bathroom, something was wrong. My reflection didn't blink when I did. It stared at me, slightly out of sync. Its mouth moved independently, whispering something I couldn't hear. I leaned closer. Its smile spread wider than should be possible. Later that day, I passed a neighbor in the hallway, Mrs. Langley, sweet old woman, always walking her Pomeranian. She stopped and frowned at me. "Immy," she said, "are you feeling all right? You look different." That night, I dreamed of the hallway again. I saw the other 12, faces distorted by terror, mouths sewn shut with shadow reaching for me. One of them was the girl who lived here before me. I couldn't wake up. Every time I closed my eyes, I slipped further into that other place. And every time I woke up, my reflection was less me, its eyes darker, its smile wider. A week later, I stopped seeing my own reflection altogether. Instead, it stared out from mirrors, from windows, from puddles, it watching me. I've tried everything, salt lines, holy water, burning sage. Nothing works. It's inside me now, feeding off me. Sometimes I hear it in my voice when I talk, a delay like a second voice under mine. People notice, they step away, they whisper, they see it. I don't know how long I have left before it takes over completely. The worst part? Sometimes I want it to, because it promises something. In dreams, in whispers, it tells me the truth. It's not just in my mirror, it's in yours too, and it's watching.
Story number 2.
I still can't sleep with the lights off. Not after what happened that November. It was a cold, sharp month in upstate New York. The kind where the darkness falls early and thick, like ink pouring from the sky. I had just taken a night security job at a decommissioned psychiatric hospital turned research facility. The place had been inactive for decades until a private firm started renovating parts of it, mainly to store sensitive medical records and run off-the-books clinical trials. The pay was good, and I needed it badly. They called it Black Ridge Asylum. Most of the original structure was intact. Long corridors with rotting wallpaper, doors with observation slots, peeling linoleum, and the faint, permanent scent of antiseptic and mildew. There were cameras everywhere, but half of them didn't work, and radio reception cut out in certain wings. From the start, something felt wrong. Not just eerie, wrong, like the building had been wounded and was still trying to heal around whatever had been done there. My first few nights were uneventful. I walked the halls every hour, checked the locks, made log notes. The silence was constant and oppressive, interrupted only by my own footsteps and the occasional groan of the pipes. Then, on my 6th night, the alarms triggered in Wing D, one of the old wings that hadn't been renovated yet. Wing D was sealed. No power, no lights, just chains on the doors and a sheet of caution tape that looked like it had been there for years. The camera feeds for that section were dead. Still, I had to check it out. I took my flashlight, radioed in the breach, and went down. The hallway beyond the chain-link gate was colder than the rest of the building. The moment I stepped past the threshold, my flashlight flickered. I tapped it. It steadied. The silence deepened. Wing D had once been the high-security ward, the worst patients. Paranoid schizophrenics, violent psychotics, the ones they didn't know what else to do with. Many had died there. Some, they say, had never even been recorded. Patients who were kept off the books. As I walked deeper, I felt like I was being watched. That's not an exaggeration. I knew I was. The air had weight to it, as if eyes were pressing in on me from every direction. My breath came out in white clouds. Then came the scratching. Not from rats or piping, but deliberate. Slow. Purposeful. Fingernails dragging across metal. I followed the sound to a door at the end of the hall, room 213. There was no record of room 213. I checked later. No blueprint, no entry in the system, nothing. But I saw it with my own eyes. The door was rusted shut, but the scratching came from inside. I leaned in and whispered, "Hello." The scratching stopped. Then a voice, raspy, almost childlike, whispered back, "He still wears your skin." I jumped back so fast I dropped the flashlight. It hit the floor, rolled into the wall, and flickered violently. I grabbed it and ran, not looking back. The light behind me flickered once more, and I swear I saw a shape, bony, elongated, clinging to the ceiling like an insect. When I got to the gate, it had been relocked. The chain was wrapped tight, the padlock secured. I hadn't closed it. I couldn't have. I radioed in again. Static. Just static. Eventually, someone let me out. I didn't mention what I saw. I told myself it was stress, sleep deprivation, maybe even a hallucination. But I started dreaming of that voice every night. And every night in the dream, I stood in front of room 213, and the door would creak open just a little more each time. 2 nights later, I reviewed the security logs. That's when I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was footage, blurry, glitchy, from a camera that was not supposed to exist. A hidden feed from inside Wing D. The angle was low, like from beneath a bed, and in the flickering image, I saw myself walking toward room 213. Only I hadn't been there that night. It was me, but it wasn't. The way it walked was off. Jerkier. It dragged its left foot. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle. But it looked like me. It wore my uniform. It had my face. I blinked and the feed cut to black. I printed the image and took it home. I stared at it for hours, trying to convince myself it was a trick of light or an old tape overwritten with new footage. But deep down, I knew. Something had seen me, and now it wanted to be me. From that night on, I saw things. Glimpses in mirrors that didn't match my movements, shadows lingering just a second too long behind me, reflections in dark windows that smirked when I didn't. My coworkers started avoiding me. One even asked me why I kept humming at the security desk. I hadn't been. Then someone played back the audio logs. There it was, low, scratchy humming like a lullaby being sung through teeth. I quit the job that night. I should have left the city. I should have burned that building to the ground. But I stayed. I thought I was safe outside the asylum's walls, until one night I came home to find my apartment door slightly ajar. I live alone, no pets, no friends with spare keys. I stepped inside, calling out. Nothing. But the lights were on. My kitchen smelled of something burning. On the table sat the photo I had printed, the one from the secret camera feed, and next to it, my own security badge, the one I'd lost after that night in Wing D. I hadn't lost it. It had been taken. The mirror in the hallway was cracked. I approached slowly. In the shards, I saw my reflection, but it didn't move when I did. It stood still. And then it smiled. That was 3 months ago. Since then, things have changed. My voice sounds different on recordings. People don't recognize me on the street. My reflection sometimes turns away when I stare too long. Last week, I woke up with a fresh scar under my chin. I don't remember getting it. Tonight, I found a new security badge in the mail. It wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to him. Room 213 is still calling. And I think I'm going to answer.
Story number 3.
I was 13 the first time I saw the girl in the well. My parents had just moved us to a remote farmhouse in the Pennsylvania countryside, surrounded by forests and forgotten fields. The house had been empty for decades, and while my mom called it a fixer-upper with potential, my dad said nothing every time we walked past the overgrown backyard and its stone well. It was old, real old, covered in moss with a rotted wooden roof and a rusted pulley wheel dangling a frayed rope. Something about it gave me chills, even during the day. At night, I kept my blinds shut tight, even though my window didn't face it. The first night we slept there, I woke up to a sound like dripping water. Tap, tap, tap. It echoed strangely, like it wasn't coming from the sink or the bathroom, but from outside. I tried to ignore it. Then I heard the voice. "Can you help me?" Soft, delicate. A girl's voice just beneath my window. I shot up and rushed to the glass, but saw only the darkness of the yard. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been there. The next day, I asked my dad about the well. He just grunted and said, "Don't go near it. Boards are weak. Dangerous." But he avoided my eyes. My mom changed the subject. That night, I heard the voice again. "Please, I'm so cold." This time, I didn't look. I buried my head under the covers and waited for it to stop. But it didn't. The third night, curiosity overpowered fear. I crept out of bed around 2 a.m., flashlight in hand, and slipped outside. The grass was wet with frost. The cold bit through my pajamas. As I approached the well, the air grew still. No wind, no rustling, just silence. I reached the well and pointed my flashlight down into the blackness. It barely penetrated. "Hello?" I whispered, and then her face appeared. Not climbing out, not hovering above, but just there, inches below the opening. Pale skin, long, soaking wet hair plastered to her cheeks, wide eyes that reflected the light like a cat's, lips blue as frostbite. She stared up at me and whispered, "He put me here." I screamed, dropped the flashlight, and ran back inside. My parents didn't believe me. "It's a new place," my mom said. "Your imagination's just running wild." But the next morning, I found a muddy handprint on the inside of my bedroom window. A child's hand. The nights got worse. I started hearing scratching under my bed, whispers coming from the closet, soft giggles in the attic. I stopped sleeping. I stopped talking. I just listened. Always listened. A week later, I stayed up to record the voice. I set my old cassette recorder by the window and pressed record before hiding under the covers. The next morning, the tape had run out. I rewound it, pressed play, and heard her. "I know you see me," she said. "He won't let me leave, but you can help." Then a pause, a soft sobbing. Then, "He comes at night. If you look into his eyes, you'll never wake up." The tape hissed, then silence. I showed it to my parents. They confiscated it and grounded me. My dad finally snapped and said, "There's nothing in the well." He stormed out to the yard, grabbed a crowbar, and ripped the rotted boards away. He stared into the darkness, then spat, cursed, and went to the shed to get concrete mix. He poured it in that night. "We're sealing it," he said. End of story. I thought that would be it, but the voice came back, muffled now. Distant. "Why'd you bury me?" And then new words. "He's in the house now." That night, the lights flickered. My bedroom door creaked open by itself. I heard footsteps, wet ones, padding down the hall. My doorknob turned slowly. It wasn't my dad. I could hear my parents snoring across the hall. The door opened and I saw her, soaked, shivering, her eyes sunken, lips trembling. But she wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the corner of my room. I turned. There was something else there. Something behind her. A shape. Not a man. Something taller. Its arms too long, fingers ending in bone-white claws. Its eyes glowed faintly red. It leaned forward and I saw its face. Hollow, like something had scooped it out and stitched human skin over the shell. I tried to scream, but my voice failed me. The girl turned to me and whispered, "Don't look." Then she lunged. She didn't hurt me. She just covered my eyes with her hands. When I woke up, the sun was up. My door was closed. My room dry, but the carpet bore dark, wet footprints. Not mine. That morning, my dad didn't come downstairs. My mom went up to check and came back screaming. He was sitting upright in bed, eyes wide open, mouth hanging slack. Dead. No wounds, no sign of struggle. The coroner said it was a heart attack, but I saw his face. He looked like he had seen something. They buried him the next week. We moved soon after, but the girl still comes. I hear her sometimes in new houses, always on rainy nights. "Please," she whispers, "don't look into his eyes." I never do, but I still see him in my dreams, waiting by the well.
Story number 4.
I was a mortuary makeup artist. Not the kind of job you aim for as a kid, but it paid well and came with solitude, something I valued after a rough childhood. The funeral home was on the edge of town, a squat brick building surrounded by pine woods that whispered when the wind picked up. I worked alone in the basement. No music, no windows, just me and the dead. They never scared me. They were just still, like furniture that used to breathe, until the Madison girl came in. Her file said 17, car accident, closed casket. But when I unzipped the body bag, I froze. Her face, though shattered and bloodied, was locked in a twisted expression of terror, mouth open so wide it looked unhinged. Her eyes had been sewn shut, but whoever did it had done a bad job. I could still see a glint of dried cornea peeking through. I had done makeup on worse, gunshots, drownings, burn victims, but this was different. Her skin felt wrong. Not cold, not stiff, warm. Almost clammy, like someone asleep with a fever. I brushed it off. Maybe the embalming fluids hadn't settled right. I got to work, applying foundation to hide the bruising, softening her features, closing the mouth. When I pressed her jaw shut, I swear to God I heard a click behind me, like someone had just locked the door. I spun around. Nothing. The door was closed, same as always. I reached for my phone to check the time. Dead. Black screen. Then I heard breathing, not mine. It came from just beyond the curtain that separated my prep station from the walk-in cooler. Slow, ragged, wet. Hello? I called out, voice cracking. No answer. I pulled the curtain aside, empty. The breathing stopped. When I turned back, the Madison girl was sitting upright on the table. Her eyes, half-stitched, cloudy bloodshot, were wide open. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I couldn't. She looked right at me. Not through me, not with the vacant stare of death, but at me. Then she smiled. The kind of smile that knows secrets, the kind you see on the wrong end of a locked room. I backed away, shaking, whispering, "You're dead." She tilted her head. Then she opened her mouth, and something spoke through her, not in her voice. It was low, like a churning drain pipe mixed with whispers. It said, "The vessel failed. I need another." I screamed, knocked over my cart, and bolted for the stairs. But the door, now actually locked, wouldn't budge. Behind me, I heard the sound of bare feet slapping on linoleum. Then another voice joined hers. It came from the cooler. Then another, and another. Soft, croaking, whispering my name. They were all speaking now. "Come down. Come down. You were always meant to come down." I pounded the door until my fists bled. I screamed until my throat was raw. Then silence. The lights flickered. Once, twice. And then the mortuary basement went dark. When I woke up, I was lying on the table, fully dressed in a suit. My face was numb. There was a mirror on the wall across from me. I looked at it. The reflection blinked. Before I did. Then it smiled. The real me, if such a thing still exists, ran out of there barefoot at dawn when the cleaning staff found me. I didn't stop running until I was 3 towns over. They said there was no girl named Madison. No accident. No record. The body never existed, not officially. But I remember her. And sometimes when I look into a mirror for too long, I see her. Standing just behind me, face calm now, lips stitched shut again, but smiling. Waiting for me to blink. Waiting for the vessel to open again.
Story number 5.
I never believed in haunted houses. That was the line I'd repeat to friends, skeptics, even myself. Right up until the night I took the job at the Merriwick estate. It was supposed to be temporary. A live-in caretaker position for an abandoned mansion deep in the woods of Vermont, miles from the nearest town. The owners, an old money family whose name no longer appeared in public records, needed someone to maintain appearances, as the listing put it. Lock doors, keep the power running, make it look lived in for legal reasons. They were offering $5,000 a month. Too good to pass up. I arrived in late October, just before the first frost. The place was enormous. 3 stories, dozens of rooms, most of them stripped down to bare furniture draped in white cloth. The exterior was elegant decay, ivy-covered brickwork, windows like hollow eyes, a porch that groaned like something remembering pain. Inside, the house was quiet, not peaceful. Trapped quiet, like the air had been waiting to exhale for years. The first 2 nights were uneventful. I wandered the halls, read in the study, and cooked for one. The power flickered sometimes, but the generator held. My only company was the fireplace in the parlor and a single radio that picked up faint AM stations if I angled it just right. On the 3rd night, I found the staircase behind the pantry. It was narrow, wooden, descending into pitch black. I shouldn't have gone down. But something about it called to me, not in words, not even in emotion, but in a pull, like gravity shifting. At the bottom was a cellar that didn't match the house. The stonework was older, much older, carved with unfamiliar runes. The air smelled like rust and old dirt. In the center stood a table. On it, a book bound in cracked leather. I opened it. Inside were pages filled with ink-black handwriting, none of it in a language I recognized. The text twisted as I read it, letters bending as if alive. My nose started bleeding. My ears rang. That's when I heard the knock. Not on the door, from beneath the floor. I left the cellar and locked the pantry shut. That night, the radio turned on by itself. Static, then a voice. It whispered my name, not once, repeatedly. Daniel, Daniel, Daniel. But no one knew I was there. I hadn't told anyone. I turned it off. It turned itself back on. The next morning, I noticed the white cloths in the parlor had been removed. They were neatly folded at the base of the fireplace. The chairs had been turned to face the hallway, as if they were watching for someone. That night, the portraits on the second floor began changing. First, the eyes followed me. Then the faces started to rot. The woman in the blue dress I'd passed her every morning on the landing now had a slit across her throat. Her painted mouth stretched into a grotesque grin. I tried to leave. My car wouldn't start. The GPS blinked wildly, then died. My phone showed no signal. Just a black screen and briefly a message I didn't recognize. You live here now. I went back inside, shaking, heart pounding. Every door I opened led me back to the same room, the study. I tried 5 different ones. Each time the same room, same fire, same desk, until the 6th time when the fire was out and someone was sitting in the chair. Their face was turned away, but their fingers tapped against the leather armrest. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic. I whispered, "Who are you?" They turned their heads slightly, enough for me to see. They had my face, only not paler, hollow-eyed, smiling wide enough to show blackened gums and teeth filed to points. Then it whispered, "I'm you after you forget who you were." I ran. I don't even remember how I got out of the house. Just that when I finally burst into the woods, the mansion looked different behind me, older, taller somehow, as if it had grown. The forest was wrong too. The trees leaned in and the sky never lightened. I walked for hours, days maybe, but every path led me back to the house. Eventually, I gave up. I went back inside. Now I sit in the study, watching the door, waiting for the next caretaker. I still look like me, but I can feel it shifting inside, the forgetting. Sometimes I hear footsteps above me, doors creaking, floorboards groaning, new sounds, new prey. If you ever see a listing for the Merrick estate, don't apply. You might think you're strong enough that it's just a story, but stories come from somewhere, and this one hasn't ended yet.
Story number 6.
I was a sleep technician. You know, the person who hooks people up to wires and monitors their brainwaves overnight. Most shifts were quiet, just me, a few dark rooms, and strangers breathing in the dark. It was boring, peaceful even, until subject number 134. I remember it because of the note clipped to the top of her file. Do not wake. That was all it said, in red ink, no signature, no explanation. I assumed it was a joke, but the tone felt official, like someone with authority had written it while suppressing a shaking hand. The subject, female, mid-30s, healthy, arrived just after 10 p.m. She was pale, silent, didn't respond to questions, just nodded once and laid down on the cot. Her eyes fluttered briefly, then closed. We hadn't even applied the sensors yet, but the equipment lit up anyway. Heart rate, EEG, everything, already running, already connected. That shouldn't be possible. We hadn't even powered up the monitor yet. I stared at the screen as it filled with waveforms, unlike anything I'd ever seen. Not the slow hum of sleep, not REM, not seizure activity. Just chaos. A spike, a flatline, a spiral, all at once. And behind the static of it all, faintly, I swear I heard a whisper. I turned down the volume. The whisper grew louder. It wasn't coming from the speakers. I stood up to check the hallway. Nothing. Just dim red exit lights and silence. I came back and glanced at the room's security camera feed. She was no longer on the bed. I blinked, checked again, still empty. But when I looked through the small observation window, there she was, lying still, breathing slow, eyes closed. I checked the camera feed again. Empty. Then the camera glitched. It froze, blinked, and now showed her sitting upright, staring directly at the lens. No transition, no movement, just one frame to the next. Bam! She was upright, mouth open. Not breathing. I rushed in. She was lying down again, same as before. But something had changed. Her eyes were open now. Solid black. Not dark, like someone had scooped out the iris and filled it with oil. She smiled, and then I blacked out. When I came to, I was in the hallway. All the room doors were open, every cot empty. The facility was silent, except for one sound, a scratching. It came from the inside of the observation mirror, behind the glass, as if someone was lightly dragging their nails across it from within. Then the whisper returned. This time I could make out the words, "She's dreaming you." I turned and ran. out of the building into the freezing night, no coat, no phone, just panic and breath fogging the air. They found me hours later on the side of the highway, barefoot and rambling. I told them what I saw. They ran a full psych eval, said it was stress, sleep deprivation, hallucination. I took their pills, nodded a lot, smiled, got better. Until last week. I moved, got a new job, new state. But last week I woke up to find wires attached to my scalp. Electrodes, tape, a heart monitor, on my nightstand a note. Same red ink, same handwriting. Do not wake. And from the dark corner of the room I heard her whisper. We take turns now.
Story number 7.
When I was 12, my uncle died and left my father an old key. No note, no instructions, just a heavy iron key in a black velvet pouch, like something out of a Gothic novel. My father, skeptical and practical, tossed it in a drawer and forgot about it. But I didn't. Something about that key tugged at me, even though I didn't know what it opened. It was cold to the touch, heavier than it should have been. Sometimes at night, when I walked past the drawer, I could hear a faint clinking, like it was rattling against something that wasn't there. Years passed. My father got sick. Cancer. Aggressive. When he realized the end was close, he called me into his study. He looked thinner than I remembered, like his body was starting to forget how to be alive. "Don't go looking for the door," he whispered. "That key, your uncle found it. Then it found him. Let it die with me." But it didn't. After the funeral, I was going through his things when I found the key again. This time it was warm, buzzing, almost eager. That night I dreamed of a hallway. Endless, dark, stone walls lined with locked doors. At the end was one door carved with symbols I didn't understand, yet somehow recognized. The key was in my hand. I woke up gripping it. I tried to ignore it. I threw it in a shoebox, duct taped it shut, shoved it in the attic. Still, the dreams came. The hallway, the door. The sound behind it, wet, shuffling, something dragging long nails across wood. I should have run, should have burned it. But obsession crept in like mold. I had to find the door. Then I remembered my uncle's cabin. It was deep in the mountains, isolated, untouched since he vanished. We hadn't gone near it since I was a kid. I made the drive. The cabin was covered in vines, windows thick with grime, air stale with rot, but the cellar was clean, untouched. And at the back of it, a stone wall that didn't match the others. I knew before I even touched it, this was it. I pressed the key into the cracks. The stone vanished. Not crumbled, not shattered, just faded. Behind it was a narrow staircase descending into blackness. I brought a flashlight, but it flickered the moment I stepped through. Down I went, one careful foot at a time. The air grew colder, damp. The walls pulsed faintly, like they were breathing. I smelled iron, salt, decay. And then I saw it. The hallway from my dreams. Exactly the same. Every door locked except the one at the end, the one that knew me. I approached. My breath fogged, my ears rang. The door opened on its own. Behind it was a vast room. No walls, just shadows. In the center, something moved. It was wrong. Humanoid, but stretched. Limbs too long, neck too short. Skin slick like it had just been born. No eyes, just a wide, toothless mouth that hung open, dripping something dark. It turned toward me. Not physically, just a sudden sense that I had its full attention. And it spoke. Not in words, but in memory. Flashes of my uncle screaming, digging the key out of his own stomach. My father locking a similar door and whispering apologies to the thing beyond it. Myself at 6, drawing the symbols I'd never been taught. Then came the voice. "You opened the door." I backed away. "You are the door." I turned and ran. The hallway warped, elongated, stretched like a muscle flexing. The doors began to open, not gently, violently, slamming into the walls, each revealing another version of the thing I'd seen. Some crawling, some floating, all smiling. I reached the cellar stairs, scrambling up them. But the cabin was gone, gone. I was standing in the forest, surrounded by trees older than anything I'd ever seen. No sky, just fog. And the key was gone. Only then did I feel it in my chest, pressing outward, trying to come back out. That was 3 months ago. I live in motel rooms now, move every few days, but the dreams still come, and when I wake up, I sometimes find strange keys on my pillow. Each one different, each one colder than the last. I haven't used them yet, but I know one night I won't have a choice, and when I open that next door, I won't be walking out again.
Story number 8.
I took the job because I was broke and desperate, not because I was brave. The listing was vague. Night security needed. Remote site, $600 night. Must stay inside the control room from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. No phones, no internet, no exceptions. I figured it was some kind of power station or research facility, maybe even a government building. The man who interviewed me wore a black suit and dark glasses indoors. He never gave a name, only instructions. Follow the access road to the end. You'll see a white trailer. That's the control room. Don't leave it. No matter what you see or hear. See or hear what? I asked. He just said, you won't need to worry if you follow the rules. On my first night, I drove 50 miles past civilization and arrived at a wide, empty field with a single trailer in the middle. No fences, no buildings, just tall, unmoving grass under a black sky that felt too big. The control room was spotless. Metal desk, 3 monitors, a speaker system, and a single chair bolted to the floor. A steel door locked from the inside. I was given a manual, 3 pages. Rule 1, do not leave the trailer until 6 a.m. Rule 2, if the lights flicker, turn off all monitors for 60 seconds. Rule 3, if you hear knocking, do not respond. Rule 4, if someone who looks exactly like you appears on the screen, mute the speaker immediately. Rule 5, at exactly 3:33 a.m., close your eyes, no matter what. Rule 6, do not, under any circumstances, look outside. The first hour was quiet, then the lights flickered. I froze. Remembering the rules, I turned off the monitors, waited. In the darkness, I heard static crackle through the speaker. A voice whispering, he's watching you through the glass. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then silence. When I turned the monitors back on, the cameras showed the empty field. Except now, there was a figure standing just outside the trailer door. Tall, unmoving, facing the camera. No face, just a blur, like a smear on a photograph. The image pulsed, glitched. It was as if the figure was too real for the screen to contain. Then came the knock. 3 soft raps. Then a voice that sounded just like mine. Hey, it's me. I locked myself out. Let me in. I stared at the speaker. Rule 3, do not respond. Come on, it continued, voice cheerful. You can see me on the camera, right? It's just us. Don't be weird. The voice turned wrong, playful, then angry. I know you're in there, idiot. You're me. I am you. I backed into the corner, hand shaking over the mute button just in case. Then the figure looked up, not at the camera, at me through it. It smiled, the lights flickered again, and all 3 monitors went black. I sat in silence for what felt like hours. At 3:33 a.m. sharp, I felt a pressure in my skull, like something behind my eyes wanted to pull my gaze toward the window. I clenched them shut. Something tapped on the glass. Not the door. The tiny window beside me. Then it whispered in my voice right beside my ear, "Open your eyes." I didn't. Seconds passed, then a minute. The pressure lifted. When I opened my eyes, the window was fogged from the outside. A single handprint smeared into it. The sun finally rose. 6 a.m. I left without looking back. The man in the black suit was waiting in the parking lot. You followed the rules. Most don't. What happens if they don't? He didn't answer. I said I was done. He nodded, gave me a check, told me to burn the uniform. But that night, in my own apartment, the hallway light flickered. My TV turned itself on. No signal. Just static, and then I heard it. 3 soft knocks at the front door, followed by my own voice. Hey, it's me. Let me in.
Story number 9.
I was hired last fall to digitize patient records at an abandoned psychiatric hospital. It sounded simple. Scan old files, upload them to a secure cloud, and don't touch anything else. The hospital had shut down in the 1970s after a fire gutted one of the wings. A nonprofit had bought the property and wanted to preserve the medical history, some kind of memorial project. They assigned me a room on the 2nd floor, an old office full of moldy cardboard boxes, yellow documents, and rotted file cabinets. My only light came from a flickering desk lamp and the thin October sun through cracked windows. On my 3rd day, I found a file not listed in the index. It was in a green folder buried deep in a drawer labeled unsorted. The patient name was smudged, but the number was clear. Patient 4417, Tan. No photo. Just notes. Strange notes. Subject insists she is a dreamer. Claims the world around her is incomplete unless she stays asleep. Believes she is keeping something out by dreaming. Refuses medication. Screams when touched. Her sleep is not sleep. EEG data is unreadable. There were drawings too. Horrible ones. They looked like charcoal scribbles, but with unnatural precision. Too many fingers, mouths in the wrong places, eyes where there shouldn't be any at all. One page just had a black spiral, pressed into the paper so hard it nearly tore through. Later that day, I started hearing footsteps, not from above or beside, underneath. Heavy, measured, like someone was walking in the floor directly below, even though that level had been sealed since the fire. I checked the map. Wing D, the wing that was supposed to have collapsed. Curiosity got the better of me. I found the door to Wing D behind a sagging tarp. Locked, of course, but the key box on the wall next to it had one left inside. The tag read D4117. I knew I shouldn't, but I unlocked it. The air hit me first. Damp, burned, thick with mildew and old chemicals. The hallway was black, save for my phone flashlight, which flickered no matter how full the battery said it was. As I moved deeper, I saw the scorched remains of patient rooms. Beds rusted to the floor, walls smeared with ash. Then I found it. Room 4417. The door was intact. No burn marks. Clean. I opened it. Inside was a bed, bolted down, chains on the floor, a chair in the corner facing a mirror that reflected nothing. And on the bed was someone. Or something, not bones, not a dummy, a body. Desiccated but intact, skin like leather, long black hair matted against its face. It looked like it had been asleep for decades, and it was breathing, barely, shallow and slow. Beside the bed was a machine that shouldn't have still been running, an EEG monitor, its screen dark but humming. I stared, frozen. Then the breathing stopped. The figure's eyes opened. They were white, empty, like boiled glass. Then it smiled, and not with its mouth, but with its skin. It stretched in ways I didn't know skin could stretch. The EEG machine burst to life, screeching with static and symbols instead of data. The walls groaned, the mirror cracked. And the thing spoke, in a voice like dead leaves crumbling. You woke me up. I ran. The hallway behind me twisted, doors vanished. I heard footsteps again, not beneath me this time, but chasing me. I didn't look back. I barely made it out. The door to Wing D slammed shut behind me. When I looked down, I was holding the file. I don't remember grabbing it. I burned it that night, but I still dream of her. Every night, she stands at the foot of my bed, not moving, not blinking, just smiling. Each morning I wake up with ash on my sheets, and now the EEG noise plays through my phone, even when it's off. Last night I heard her whisper, "You sleep now so I don't have to." But I don't know how much longer I can stay awake, and I don't think she ever left room 4417. I think she brought the room with her.
Story number 10.
They say some buildings remember. I used to laugh at that idea until I took the night shift at St. Elias boarding school. It had been closed since the early 2000s after a series of mysterious disappearances that no one ever officially explained. The property had recently been bought by a private contractor who wanted the interior documented before demolition. That's where I came in. Overnight surveillance, simple security, 1 week, $1,000 a night. Easy. I was told never to enter the east wing. Structural instability, they said. But everything else was fair game. So I set up my little station in the old library, surrounded by thick books and glass-paneled cabinets filled with forgotten trophies and dusty yearbooks. The first night was uneventful, cold but calm. I did my rounds, logged notes. Around 3 a.m., I passed a door I hadn't seen before, just beyond the music room. It wasn't on the floor plans, no signage, but the doorknob was warm to the touch. I didn't open it. The second night, I started hearing it. Music, a slow piano melody, elegant and haunting. It echoed faintly through the halls, always coming from the east wing, always around the same time. By the third night, I noticed something stranger. The paintings in the main hallway had changed. They were portraits. Students, teachers, the usual, but now they looked different. Not in composition, just expression. Eyes wider, mouths tight, almost as if they were afraid. I checked the security footage. They changed between 311 and 313 aim on their own. The fourth night, the music grew louder. I couldn't help myself. I followed it. It led me straight to that door again. This time it was open a crack. The room beyond wasn't part of the school. It was impossible. Larger than the building footprint allowed. Endless rows of desks stretched into darkness. Each desk held a single candle. Every candle was lit. And sitting in every seat was a child facing forward, motionless, silent. Their faces were wrong, too symmetrical, too still. I whispered, "Hello?" All the heads turned at once. Then they screamed, but not with mouths, with every sound at once. Crying, yelling, coughing, laughing, whispering in reverse. The flames went out. One by one, click, click, click. I backed away and slammed the door, but it wasn't there anymore. Behind me was the music room. I ran back to the library. The portraits on the walls now showed the screaming children, their faces stretched, blurred. The paint was still wet. That night I slept in my car. On the fifth night I quit, drove 2 towns over, tried to forget. But it followed me. It started with the piano music coming from beneath the floor in my apartment. Then the paintings. At first I thought I was hallucinating, until I saw myself in one, third from the left, standing among the children. On the 6th night I destroyed the only copy of the floor plan, burned it in the sink. But fire didn't work. When the flames died, the ashes spelled something on their own. Class is not dismissed. Now I wake up each night at 3:11 a.m. sharp. My ears ring, my nose bleeds, and every time I close my eyes, I'm back in that room, with the desks and the candles and the children who don't blink. They're getting closer. I don't think the building remembers. I think it never forgot. And now, neither can I.